Hello, Oiler Nation. This is Deven Stover here on Oiler Outlook with head men's basketball coach Charlie Ernst. How you doing, Coach?
Doing well, Dev.
Good. Always a blessing to be sitting next to you, Coach.
Thank you.
So let's start with your last game. So it was a hard-fought battle. So what stood out to you the most about your team's performance, and how does that inform your approach moving forward?
Yeah. Well, I thought our energy, to be honest, I thought our energy was better on Saturday than it was on Thursday. And, I think as a coach, ultimately we're judged by winning and losing. But as a coach, you feel like whether it be in practice or in games, you want to see your team improving in certain categories based on what you see every day in practice or what you know to be your team's weaknesses and so forth and so on. And I think that's why some coaches will tell you that even though we won, I wasn't happy with our performance. And it's because of those concern areas. When you win but maybe don't improve in certain areas, you know that while wins are most important, it's going to catch up to you.
Yeah.
And I think in the Cedarville game, I thought our effort was good. I thought we did some good things. But I think we learned a couple lessons. Number one, we didn't shoot well.
Mm-hmm.
But I think part of that was because we didn't take a lot of good shots.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't take enough good shots. And then I think, secondly, when we fall in love with the three and it's not going in, we struggle to put pressure on the rim. And it's not just that's an overall, statement, but it seems as though when we get these games to where they're a one possession game or it's a tie game, we normally revert to a jump shot.
Yep. As
opposed to taking the ball to the basket, not only putting pressure on the rim, but as I always say, putting pressure on the refs.
That is true.
But when you take jump shots, there's not going to be a call. There's rarely going to be an offensive rebound. You better make the shot.
Absolutely.
And I think those are a couple takeaways from the Cedarville game. Yeah. But it gives Cedarville credit. They played well. They made shots. They did. They executed the way you need to win a game on the road like that.
Yeah, and I know these are ones you can't dwell on for too long. So speaking of that, digging into the game plan for Northwood, I know they have some key players who have been different makers in their recent games. So how do you plan to counter their strengths while exploiting their weaknesses?
Well, I think whether it's Northwood, Walsh, Cedarville, all of these teams, first of all, they're all good teams with good players. And you know that from when you played. You can't take these games lightly. In fact, these are difficult games.
Absolutely.
Because, human nature is to compare teams on paper. But the game's not played on paper. The game's played in between the lines on the court with athletic players that are competitive, that practice hard all week and prepare. And we got to go on the road. So I think, Northwood presents some problems. They're probably going to attack our press more aggressively than some of the recent games. Shot blockers around the basket, which, we've seen some length, but I'm not sure we've seen aggressive shot blocking ability. And then I think finally, they're coming off of a big win on the road, maybe their biggest win of the year at Walsh, which, that's a really good win. And they were without a couple players that were injured. Well, I'm guessing those guys will be back. You add that to the guys that just went to Walsh and won. They're probably feeling pretty good about themselves this week in practice.
They definitely are. And now, on the other side of the ball, offensively, what adjustments or strategies are you looking to implement to put your team in the best position to succeed against their defense?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is shot selection for us, spacing the floor. As I mentioned earlier in this interview, we got to find a way to put more pressure on the rim. And you do that not only by throwing the ball to the block, but maybe beating people, giving guys space, whether it's Mackay, Anthony, really all of our guys, giving them space to get to the rim.
Yes.
We have a lot of shooting. I don't think that's any secret at this point in the season. We just don't feel like we're using the threat of all those shot makers to create space on the floor to be able to complement that shooting with opportunities to get all the way to the rim.
Yep.
And I don't think it's just maybe a lack of desire. I don't think it's that. It's that there's not great opportunities, or at least the players don't see those. So we've been working this week at trying to have better spacing, to give our guys, our quick players especially, some opportunities to get to the basket, not only to finish where it's a little easier to do it, but maybe get to the free throw line. When we get to the line, we get to set up our press.
Yep.
There are a lot of other things that come from that.
Yeah, and you kind of touched on this next question I'm about to ask, Coach, for the bigger picture. So at this point in the season, it comes with just naturally some pressure, but also opportunity. So how do you help the team stay focused and confident, whether it's a win or a loss, or struggling or succeeding during games?
It's I'm glad you asked that question, Dev, because really everything we've talked about to this point is mostly strategy, execution, things you work on in practice, right? But I think I'm on the same page as you. I know I am. I don't think I am. I know I am. That really maybe the very most important quality in this game is to be able to put behind us what happened Saturday. Remember, who we are. Remember how good we can be. And play with that confidence, swagger, and belief in one another that we had early in the year.
Yep.
When we were winning games. I'm not sure our execution was a whole lot better then, but maybe our mental was.
Yep.
So, our execution will get better. We've had a very good week of practice. But I think the most important component is that I get these guys in the right frame of mind, not only driven, but confident.
Yes.
And I think that's going to be the most important thing that determines the outcome of this Northwood game.
And then final question for you, Coach. Let's bring it back to the fans. So Findlay has such a loyal and passionate fan base. So what's your message to them as you prepare for the next game and look to build on this season's momentum?
Yeah, I think probably the same message I've shared all year. These guys are an exciting group.
Yeah.
They love one another. They love to play with each other. They were hurting after the Cedarville game, just like our fans were. But there was no finger pointing in the locker room.
That's
I was
great.
so impressed with our team.
That's great.
All I heard was guys blaming themselves and saying I could have done more. I didn't have a good day. That's on me. Those are sometimes when you've been coaching a long time, you understand it doesn't happen all the time.
Yeah.
And I think that's a special quality. I think that this is a very young group. By and large, it's a very young group. So they are learning and experiencing things for some of them for the first time. And so, it's a process. Be patient. That's a message I would have. Be patient, be excited, and have confidence.
That sounds good. That sounds like everything we need, Coach. I appreciate you joining us here today on Oiler Outlook. And this has been Deven Stover and head men's basketball coach Charlie Ernst.